He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Looks like everybody's going to Trump Tower. Have you been invited to Trump Tower, Mr. Producer? I haven't been invited. Gee willikers. I am Mark Levin. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Even Mayor DeCamio's been to Trump Tower. I have never been to Trump Tower. My goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to apologize to you. Sincerely apologize to you. I've made a terrible mistake, and I'm a big enough man to tell you when I have. I want to endorse Nancy Pelosi for House Democratic leader. I want to endorse Nancy Pelosi. I want to say kudos to the Senate Democrats for elevating Chuck Schumer to their leader. And I'm having second thoughts about my attacks on Keith Ellison. Maybe he's perfectly qualified to lead the Democrat Party with his ties to the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE and Farrakhan at the Democrat National Committee. So I want to endorse all three of those people because I think they've done a hell of a job. They've done a hell of a job. I'm looking here at CNS News. Terry Jeffrey, Brent Bozell's wonderful outfit. Ranks of GOP state legislators at all-time high after winning 7 more seats. Then I look at the House of Representatives. It's been in the hands of the Republicans now for quite some time, after the Tea Party rose up and took it from the Democrats and Pelosi. The Senate, I mean, I think there were something like 23 Democrats up. They were supposed to sweep the Senate and take the majority, and they failed. And, of course, as we all know, they were supposed to win the presidency, and they didn't. So I want to give my strongest endorsement possible to Nancy Pelosi to head the Democrats in the House, to Keith Ellison. This is what America's looking for, ladies and gentlemen. A man with ties to Farrakhan, a man with ties to the Muslim Brotherhood, a man with ties to CARE, a radical leftist. This is exactly what America wants. So I want to endorse Keith Ellison for the DNC chair, Nancy Pelosi for the Democrat leadership, and I want to thank the Democrats in the Senate for elevating Chuck Schumer. Now, what do you think about that? And I think they should keep doing exactly what they're doing. I hear Bernie Sanders wants to run for president again in 4 years. I don't think we've ever had a president who was, 112 years old? You think he slobbers now. Wait until, 4 years from now. He spittle all, it'll be, whatever. Maybe Hillary Clinton will give it another run after her nervous breakdown. You never know. Maybe Elizabeth Warren. Complete fruitcake. Maybe she's the future of the country. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think I should have been so harsh on Nancy in all these years, and Schumer all these years, and Keith Ellison the last several days, exposing him for the radical goofball that he is. No, I want to endorse all of them for the positions they seek or have. Because I don't think if they reach into the farm team and elect some moderates to these positions, which I don't think they'll do, I think they'd be a lot tougher, don't you? So the more radical, the better. The more repulsive, the better. The more evil, the better. And I think we've got him right there, the Three Stooges. The Three Stooges. Schumer, Ellison, and Pelosi. Perfect for the future of the Democrat Party. Now, what's with this Obama? traveling all over the world. Does he think he's the Messiah? He's a complete failure in domestic and foreign policy, a pathetic joke. He gets up there behind the microphone. He's got the world press there. Doesn't he realize people are laughing behind his back? And he's up there lecturing Trump, lecturing the world, lecturing this, lecturing that. Mr. Failure, Mr. Loser. But I have 57% popularity. So what? Who cares? Obama, in a news conference today, about the riots that are taking place in our country. I warned you about this guy, not only for years, but I've noticed, and as have you, his utter silence in the face of the anarchists and Marxists in the streets. And I'm going to tell you why. Because he supports them. He probably says to the lovely Michelle, when they're planning their vacation, in Palm Springs, to fight the system, to fight the man, probably says to her, the good old days there, honey. When we could actively and openly socialize with our friends, Bernadine Dorn and Bill Ayers and Father Nutjob there in Chicago and Khalidi and all the rest of them. We could worship openly with our dear friend Jeremiah Wright. The good old days. Look, honey, look what's happening in Seattle. It's really great. Look what's happening in Portland. Look at all these kids rising up, breaking windows, attacking cops, cutting tires, burning stuff. The good old days. Cut 8, go.
So I would not advise people who feel strongly or are concerned about some of the issues that have been raised during the course of the campaign. I wouldn't advise them to be silent. What I would advise, what I advised before the election and what I will continue to advise after the election, is that elections matter, voting matters, organizing matters, being informed on the issues matter.
Wow, what a sage. What a sage. Notice he didn't say cut out the violence. Nothing of the sort. Because he believes in it. And I always knew he believed in it. His party believes in it. His party needs it. This is who they are. This is what they do. You don't see violence from Tea Party activists. You don't see violence from rank-and-file Republicans. See, quite the opposite. I'm sure the media will seize on what Obama said, just the way they used to seize on what Trump said. Did Trump urge violence in the street? No. And we know that Hillary Clinton and her campaign had ties to these operatives, thanks to the Veritas Group. We're funding it. We know George Soros is into all this. Civil war, bloodshed, turmoil. He's utterly unaffected by it. So there's Obama in Germany. He's in Germany. Riots in the streets in the United States. His party, his supporters, his people. And there he is in Germany thinking it's pretty cool. I would not advise them to be silent. I would not advise them to be silent. Anyway, I wanted to remind you of him. Let's also hear this. Cut 6. Obama today in Berlin. Go.
Part of what's changed in politics is social media and how people...
All right. Social media. Didn't you use social media to get elected? Wasn't that the genius of your campaign in 2008? Social media? Go ahead.
Part of what's changed in politics is social media and how people are receiving information. It's easier to make negative attacks and simplistic slogans than it is to communicate.
What is he doing? What does he do? He's like a homeless guy with an Air Force jet, with an entourage, with the presidency, just kind of roaming around the streets, in this case, roaming around the world, popping off, lecturing everybody, monotonous, boring, pathetic, embarrassing. Comments on social media, commenting on this, commenting on that. What the hell? This guy, he doesn't know a damn thing. He's learned nothing in 8 years in the presidency. He knew nothing before he came to the presidency. The American people rose up in 2010. They rose up in 2010 because of his Obamacare, and they haven't stopped rising up. 2010, 2012, 2014, 2016. Wait a minute. I want to apologize to you, ladies and gentlemen. We like Barack Obama, don't we? We do now, right? Oh, yes, we do. Since Barack Obama's been president, the Republicans hold more state legislatures and more governorships since Reconstruction. They've never held more since Reconstruction. They were supposed to get blown out in the Senate. But they weren't. They might even lose the House. But they didn't. They couldn't possibly win the presidency. But they did. So I want to thank Barack Obama. Keep your mouth running, pal. Keep going on and on about the great times and how things are so wonderful and all the rest of it. So I want to say this. Thank you, Barack Obama. Reiterate my support for Keith Ellison over there at the DNC. That'll get Middle America excited. The Muslim Brotherhood, CARE, Farrakhan. Nancy Pelosi, you've been great. The San Francisco treat, there she is. And of course, the snake, Chuck Schumer. Now, I must say, Mr. Producer sent me the emails, that unlike the very, very rude Eric Holder, who wouldn't take up my offer to debate me on the Electoral College. I mean, I know I'm not Bill Maher, but we could do that, you know. Chuck Schumer's office actually responded. The communications director said, we appreciate it, but we're busy. Who was the other one, Mr. Producer, that got back to us? Now, who was the other one? We had Schumer's office. Ellison's office got back to us. Thanked us, too. Well, we'll continue to invite Mr. Ellison on the program. I mean, after all, I just endorsed him to be chairman of the DNC, didn't I? And all you Democrats who are having second thoughts in the House for Pelosi, spread the word in your caucus among the left-wing kooks that I'm endorsing Nancy Pelosi. I'm sure it'll help. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I want to apologize to Keith Ellison again. It's Keith X, as I recall. Keith X. So I officially endorsed Keith X to be the head of the Democrat National Committee. Officially endorsed Nancy Pelosi, Nancy X, to be the head of the Democrats in the House. And we officially certify and sanctify Charles Chuck Schumer as the Democrat leader in the Senate. We're proud of all three. Keep it up, boys and girls. Just keep it up. More press conferences, more policies. Let the entire world know who you are. I think that would be very, very helpful. Now, let me show you the difference between the Democrats in the Senate and the Republicans. First, we have from the Huffington Compost, and they're very, very excited about Orrin Hatch. Is that 2 R's or 1 R? I don't remember. 2 R's. Orrin Hatch may want to run for the Senate again in Utah. We will fight him tooth and nail. He came on this program and lied repeatedly to get our endorsement. That will never happen again. He's on our radar to be defeated. The Huffington Compost. Key Republican puts dagger in push to end filibusters. Now, by the way, I don't favor ending a filibuster rule for everything. Just for key things. We can take our lesson from Harry Reid and the great Chuck Schumer. by Mark Wilson. By Michael McAuliffe. I wonder if he's related to the bagman under FBI investigation, the governor of Virginia, Terry. Republicans hankering to end the filibuster so they can enact President-elect Donald Trump's agenda without interference from Senate Democrats can pretty much forget it. To change the rules and end the minority party's right to blockade legislation. It's not blockade legislation, it's block legislation. He definitely has to be related to the idiot governor of Virginia. And Supreme Court nominees requires either agreement at the start of a new Congress, which Democrats would oppose, or a series of procedural votes. The latter, known as the nuclear option, could rewrite the rules with just 51 votes. Democrats did that for 2 years for presidential nominations below the level of Supreme Court to move some of Obama's many stalled nominees. This guy's not a hack. Now some Republicans, especially in the House, are pushing for Republicans in the upper chamber to nuke the rest of the filibuster, clearing the way for a Trump agenda. But with the GOP holding just a 52-seat majority next year, it would take only only 2 defections to end that threat, and some Senate Republicans already have expressed strong reservations. On Wednesday, Senator Orrin Hatch may have put a dagger in the scheme. Asked by the Huffington Compost about ending the filibuster, he was blunt. Are you kidding? I'm one of the biggest advocates for the filibuster. It's the only way to protect the minority. And we've been in the minority a lot more than we've been in the majority. It's just a great, great protection for the minority. Asked about reforming the minority party blockade, famous filibusterer Senator Rand Paul said, "We'll see." Now contrast this from the Washington Times. Headline, Democrats' new Senate leader, our man Chuck Schumer, open to filibustering Trump's Supreme Court picks. See the difference, ladies and gentlemen? Pusillanimous, impotent buffoons versus pusillanimous, imperial, pathetic Democrats. There you have it. They will do anything to advance their agenda and stop ours, and Orrin Hatch will do anything to advance their agenda and stop ours. We're going to have to address this, or this thing's going to be stillborn. I'll be right back.
If you turn off your radio and open the window, you can probably hear him straight from the studio. Call Mark Levin at 877-381-3811.
Looks like every rat-fink in Congress wants to get into the Trump administration, doesn't it? Half the rat-finks in talk radio want to get into the Trump administration, it looks like. Or at least a Mar-a-Lago or whatever. I don't want to get into anything. I love my independence. I love my independence. Doing exactly what I want to do, what I love to do. So all these rat-finks lining up. Even old rat-finks. So here is, by the way, Mr. Producer, send another email, if you would, to Keith Ellison's office and tell them I've now endorsed him to be chairman of the DNC. Will he come on now? Okay. I'm reaching across the aisle. A Jew to a Muslim. Yes. We'd love to have Keith X on the program. Keith X. We're not offended by that in the least. Call himself whatever he wants. Matter of fact, I think he should call himself Keith X. And I think he should invite Farrakhan in and Sharpton and the whole crowd. Bring everybody in. Have endless national press conferences about his support for the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE and his ties to Farrakhan and all. I think this is perfect. I think Schumer, the American people can't get enough of Schumer. The idiot Democrats, our friends in New York, the Democrats, keep electing him. Schumer comes off really, really well in the rest of the country. Doesn't come off as a shyster lawyer. No. Great statesman. Everybody loves Schumer with his cornrow and grease-backed hair. Little dabble, do you? Anyway, Washington Times. Senate Democrats' new leader claimed the right to filibuster Donald Trump's Supreme Court nominee. See, this is not normally done. But he knows they can do it because you have a sucker like Orrin Hatch on the other side. Oh, we're trying to protect the minority. You're not protecting anybody, you jerk. Not the majority, not the minority, not the American people, not the future of the country. You're not protecting anybody. Making clear Democrats won't give the president-elect much of a honeymoon on the most significant of his upcoming appointments. Senator Charles E. Schmucky Chucky Schumer, New York Democrat, said nominations to the High Court should get support from both parties, and said the filibuster, this guy's a clown, and said the filibuster is a way to enforce that on a president. He pointedly noted that when his party changed filibuster rules 3 years ago, they left intact the ability to filibuster at the Supreme Court level. See, they don't stop. But Orrin Hatch, what, are you kidding me? We're not suspend the filibuster rule. What, are you kidding me? You kidding me? We're protecting the minority. You kidding me? I'll underline that we did not change the rules for Supreme Court because we thought on something as important as this, there should be some degree of bipartisan agreement. No, you didn't. No, you didn't, Mr. Snake Oil Salesman. But what am I doing? What am I doing? I said we need to reach out and be polite to these guys as they destroy their own party. I'm sure Schumer comes off very, very well in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Oh, very, very well. Let's see. Democrats, though, set the precedent for partisan filibusters of federal judges under President George W. Bush. This is true. By blocking a series of his circuit court nominees. But that wasn't enough to move Orrin Hatch. No. Not enough at all. Let's see here. You know, this guy, Rick Scott, the governor of Florida, I don't mean to offend. And I'm glad he's beaten the Democrats he runs against. I really am. I really am. But a more freakish-looking politician, Mr. Producer, you have to go on the Democrat side to find freaker-looking politicians, don't you? I mean, I want to like the guy. I can't like the guy. I mean, I like pretty much what he's doing, but it's just tough. No offense. So Mitt Romney is supposed to go to the Trump Tower. Is it tower or towers? Pardon me. To Trump, whatever, on Sunday. And all the rhino surrogate reporters think this is really cool. Oh, this is a great thing, you know. It's very Lincoln-esque. Right, Romney, who, you know, and to bring him in here just shows the judgment. And of course, we want to expand the reach of the Republican Party. So that he keeps bringing insiders in. Yes, wow, we got Reince Priebus over there, Little Weasel over there, Chief of Staff. Oh, Reince. Praise the appointment of Reince. Yes, Reince. We got Romney in, perfect Secretary of State, absolutely qualified. He's got very, very deep foreign policy experience. As what? Well, he was governor of Massachusetts. Okay, and he was governor of Massachusetts. Hey, that guy's got a deep resume. Hey, I think that's good. I mean, there are staples all over the world. Okay, got it. Romney, he'd be great. So Romney at the State Department. You know, I don't know. They're throwing names out left and right. Names are being leaked. They want to get your reaction. They want to know what you'll think. Honestly, it's this Bob Corker. That's the one. But Romney, ask you folks a question. If you gave nearly a 1-hour speech absolutely eviscerating Trump, his character, his qualifications, his positions, just up one side and down the other, and then you push this third-party candidate, Evan what's-his-name, McMillan, whatever, this third-party candidate, in order to try and tip Utah. Forget about Trump for a minute. Think about Romney. If you're Romney, why would you even go to meet Trump at the Trump Tower or towers? You see what I'm saying, Mr. Producer? Do you not have any? Yeah, I don't get. Do you not have any self-respect whatsoever? You used your position as the former nominee of the Republican Party to say that this guy was lower than a lowlife. Now, if that's what you believed, and he never came around, and I'm not a special pleader for Trump, hardly, then why the hell would you go visit Trump? I'm quite serious about this. Well, we'll see. I can't believe that they'd appoint him Secretary of State. But there they are on the 5, and the 5, no. The 5 had 6 today. So there they are on the 5 with 6. Yeah, this is brilliant. Absolutely spectacular. Absolutely. This is just unbelievable. So wise, so Lincoln-esque, the cabinet of whatever. Everybody's Lincoln, which is such a joke. Lincoln, one of the greatest presidents in American history. People haven't become president yet. Obama likes to compare himself to Lincoln. Actually, he doesn't. He thinks he's greater than Lincoln. Obama thinks he's greater than Lincoln. I think he's more John Tyler or Franklin Pierce myself in terms of success. Maybe a lot worse, actually. Maybe a lot worse. Now, you know who's popped up his head out of his lobbyist job and says he can help drain the swamp? You know? Do you know who? Trent Lott. Remember Trent Lott? Complete phony? Mr. Sellout? Mr. Republican leader? Remember Trent Lott? I think his brother-in-law is a big slip-and-fall lawyer in Mississippi. Mr. Trent Lott, who loved these earmarks left and right and right and left. Mr. Trent Lott is a lobbyist in Washington, D.C., never went home to Mississippi, like so many of them. Another rat fink. Represented a Russian bank, and still does, I think, in Washington, D.C. They received hundreds of thousands of dollars for their good work. He says, Donald Trump would have considered talking to him because he really knows how to drain the swamp. And our good friends at Conservative Review said, that's like the swamp monster saying he wants to drain the swamp. I told you, the rat finks are all over the place. Going to bring in Trent Lott? No, I don't think he is, but Trent Lott is offering himself up. He wants to help. He's available. Here's another rat fink, Lindsey Graham from Conservative Review. If you thought the Republican establishment was going to just take it lying down from President-elect Donald Trump and his agenda, Senator Lindsey Graham, who has a 30% liberty score at Conservative Review, is going to disappoint you. As a stalwart proponent of the Gang of Eight amnesty bill, he told reporters that Trump ought to tread lightly around a full repeal of Obama's illegal executive order on amnesty, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals Act. I think we should just call all of Obama's laws, Obama is great, Act 1, Obama is great, Act 2, Obama is great, Act 3. I mean, the title of these bills, absurd. So here's Lindsey. May I call you Lindsey? Lindsey X. Here's a problem that we have, he says. You've got about 1 million DREAM Act kids who came here as small children. Well, they're kids, so they would come here as small children, brainiac. Lived here all their lives. Now they have legal status by executive order. Yeah, but it's an unconstitutional executive order. Well, Graham voted. He said, I don't know what he wants to do, meaning Trump, on nonviolent illegal aliens. Tell you what I won't do. I will not vote for a bill that treats a grandmother and a drug dealer the same. Let me ask you something, Lindsey. Let's say you have a grandmother and a drug dealer, and neither of them pay their federal income taxes. What does the IRS do to the grandmother and the drug dealer? I mean, apart from the criminality in the case of the drug dealer, separate and apart from the violation of the Internal Revenue Code. They prosecute both of them. So under our law, Lindsay, the drug dealer and the grandmother are treated the same. It's just that your IQ, it makes it tough to understand these things. Am I being tough on the rat finks today? I don't much care. These are the people who have dragged this country into the gutter. These are the people who've driven up the debt over $20 trillion and unfunded liabilities over $200 trillion. These are the clown Republicans who sat around while this president was violating the Constitution, thumbing his nose at him, and attacking we, the conservatives. These are the fools who believed in comprehensive immigration reform, open borders. That's right. These are the clowns right now who will not put an end to what Schumer wants to do with the filibuster rule. And we got to sit here and listen to them lecture us? This idiot Trent Lott hasn't been in government for years, thanks God, is a multimillionaire lobbyist, including for a Russian bank. And he comes forward and says, hey, I'll help you drain the swamp. No, you won't, you big dope. I got to listen to Mitch McConnell say there's not going to be a vote on term limits? The hell's going on? The Whig Party. The wigged out party. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Democrats are already starting to attack this guy challenging our dear good friend Nancy Pelosi, this Tim Ryan, Democrat of Ohio. They're already trashing the guy. Yeah, I tell you. Well, on the Mark Levin Show, we're rooting for Nancy Pelosi, and let the word go out to the Democrats in the House of Representatives that I've endorsed Nancy Pelosi for Democrat leader in the House of Representatives. I just want to help her out. I can see by that constipated look on her face that she's very concerned about this potential challenge. So we want to come to her rescue, and we want to thank the Democrats for destroying themselves. Who's the number 2 there? That's Stempy Hoyer from Maryland? That's Stempy, man. He looks like, you look at that guy's face, you know what he looks like, Mr. Bitter? Like he's passing kidney stones, doesn't he? Stempy's never happy. It looks like he's passing kidney stones. Looks like he's in excruciating pain. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you about CRTV. This is our new enterprise, and I love it, and I love what I'm doing there. I hope you're loving it too. What, you don't watch it? Well, why don't you watch it? If you're tired of the liberal bias, if you're tired of conservatives being attacked, if you're tired of learning about the collusion between journalists, commentators, and campaigns, as revealed by WikiLeaks, well, come join us on the other side. We've decided it was time to make a change. Now, we couldn't afford to buy a TV network or start a cable network or any of those sort of things, so we decided to go around them. And we started with Levin TV. And we're on all kinds of platforms, including Samsung Smart TV with Roku, including your iPhone, including your Android device, including your PC and your laptop and your iPad, and more to come. More to come. On your Samsung Smart TV in December, you're going to have the Smart Hub. You'll see the CRTV icon. Boom. Click it. You're in. And by the way, Levin TV Roku on the Samsung Smart TV is among the most popular Roku shows available. Now, a couple things I want to tell you. If you're in the military or if you're a veteran, I made the executive decision that we will continue to offer you $30 off for the 1-year CRTV subscription. You'll still get $30 off. if you call 844-LEVIN-TV, 844-LEVIN-TV. Our folks there will help you out. They'll get you all signed up. They'll tell you how to watch tonight's show, and you'll be off to the races. You can also check it out at crtv.com, crtv.com. And come December, in addition to Levin TV, you'll have our dear friend Michelle Malkin. Michelle Malkin Investigates. She's going all over the country as I speak. She's going to have powerful programs. A guy I've gotten to know and I really like, Steven Crowder. Steve Crowder is hilarious. He's solid. He's 28 years old. Just a terrific talent. And we're going to have other talent on the program, too, on the network as well. It's CRTV, Conservative Review TV. This model was hatched, this whole idea was hatched in my living room with a dear friend of mine who's involved in giving it the kind of support that it needs. And we are fully capitalized. There's no commercials. And all we need is for you to join us. Levin TV was so successful, we're taking it step by step. We've now expanded it to a network. So check us out. Now, one other thing. Everybody else, if you're not a vet and you're not in the military, we have a special discount for you. $10 off the annual subscription. What does cable TV charge, Mr. Producer? $170, $210 a month, depending on what you get? At least. Some people, $300 a month and so forth. You're spending thousands of dollars a year. Same with satellite. Some places, satellite's even more expensive. We're charging $99 for the entire year for all of our talent, the current talent, the future talent. $10 off, $89 for the entire year. But that runs out on December 7th. So give it a try. CRTV.com or Levin TV. Levin TV, 844-LEVIN-TV. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Well, Keith X, a.k.a. Keith Ellison, is making it very tough to continue my support for him. Keith X, on Vice News on HBO Tuesday, Hat Tip Real Clear Politics, had this to say about President-elect Donald Trump. Cut 3, go.
It does cause for soul searching, and I'm going to tell you why. It should never have been this close. I mean, Donald Trump is the single worst person ever to win the nomination of a major party. And when I say bad person, I mean like, you know, every sexist thing he said, every racist thing he said is just deplorable. Well, you know, deplorable, quite frankly. Now, I don't say that about his supporters, but I say it about the way he campaigned in this election. Everybody's kind of hoping that he campaigned one way and is going to govern another. We will see.
Keith X, have you ever heard your man Farrakhan? You know about your buddy Sharpton and his background? Keith X, you're making it tough. I've given you my support. I feel that you're the best chairman of the Democrat Party for the Republicans. I mean, of the Democrat Party. But that's very uncharitable of you. Bernie Sanders, Marxist, Vermont, is strongly behind Keith Ellison. He doesn't care about all the rest of this stuff, the Farrakhan stuff and all the rest. Cut 4, go.
Donald Trump won the election.
Oh, my God, that voice. I can't stand this guy. I mean, go ahead.
Donald Trump won the election for a number of reasons. But one of the reasons that he won is, in my view, a failure of the Democratic Party that must be rectified. And that is why I am supporting Keith Ellison for the next chair.
In other words, the Democrat Party isn't lunatic enough. Isn't lunatic enough. Go ahead.
The Democratic Party has got to recognize, and I now not here to blame anybody, not to criticize anybody, but facts are facts. When you lose the White House to the least popular candidate in the history of America, when you lose the Senate, when you lose the House, and when 2/3...
Of course, he's not the least popular candidate in the history of America. But we're dealing with Bernie Sanders. What are you expecting? This is why I never understood why Trump kept reaching out to this knucklehead and his supporters. It was bizarre. Go ahead.
Governors in this country are Republicans. It is time for a new direction for the Democratic Party.
Yes, it's time for Keith X. That'll get them more governorships. Keith X. And then there's Paul Ryan at a press conference today. As you know, Mitch McConnell opposes a term limits vote on the floor of the Senate. He won't even allow a vote, he said. You know, we have term limits out here in the Senate. We call them elections. We got elections. Those are term limits. I'm not going to allow a vote on the floor of the Senate on term limits. No, we're not going to do that. I want to show everybody our government can work. Like partisan. You know, we passed more amendments here since I've been majority leader than Harry Reid ever passed. But here's Paul Ryan in the House. Asked about term limits on C-SPAN. Count one, go.
I've always supported term limits.
Whoa! Wow. What did he do? Issue it on the 100th paragraph of a news release 10 years ago? He's always supported term limits? Wow. He's been a leader in this, maybe? Let's start from the top. Go.
I've always supported term limits. I've long been a fan of term limits, actually. I don't know where all the other members stand, but that's something I've always been in favor of.
Push for legislation on that?
I'll leave it up to others to decide that. Judiciary Committee. I've actually
let's stop the idiots. Do they even know what the Constitution is? The report. You're going to push for legislation? They have to propose an amendment to the Constitution. It's not legislation like a statute. I don't know. I'm going to figure out what all the other members want, you know. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if any of you believe that either party in Congress will support a resolution, that is, adopt a constitutional amendment to send to the states for ratification, 2/3 of both bodies, for term limits, then you must be smoking weed in Colorado. Because that ain't going to happen. Because neither the Democrats nor the Republicans want term limits. They wanted term limits, they already would have passed this thing. That's why the only way out here is the Convention of States. It's the only way. These people aren't going to do anything. Certainly not in that respect. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think Barack Obama is going to pardon Hillary Clinton on the way out the door? Hillary Clinton, who clearly has had, in my view, a nervous breakdown. She thought she was going to win. She thought she was entitled. They were all excited on Tuesday. The numbers start to roll in, and, well, the ashtrays are being thrown. The lamps are being thrown. Bill's running out of there. He doesn't want to get cut up again. Secret Service has to leave. Hillary's on the warpath, apparently. She's screaming at her guy, Mook. The great Mook! Screaming at her guy, Podesta. And, of course, she had nothing to do with this. Let's listen to Nancy Pelosi, our favorite. Nancy Pelosi's been asked, about what Jesse Jackson's saying. Jesse Jackson said Obama should pardon Hillary. Cut two, go.
Jesse Jackson just today came out asking for President Obama to pardon Hillary Clinton. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't even know about that. Pardon her for what? I don't have the faintest idea. what you're talking about. I mean, I just don't know, but I don't know why you would pardon her for what. I'm sorry. That doesn't make any sense to me.
You don't think Nancy Pelosi is sniffing glue, do you, Mr. Producer? I mean, I don't think they're making models or anything, like plastic models in her office, do you? Hey, I like making models. Can I have more of that glue, please? Yeah, yes. Anyway, well, Nancy, maybe you haven't been with us the last, 12 to 18 months with the Clinton Foundation, the money laundering operation there, and Hillary Clinton's official acts and meetings. Maybe you haven't been around for the Espionage Act either. Aren't you aware of that either? And, yes, might Obama, I don't understand, partner for what? Partner for what? Well, I'm in the Nancy Pelosi category on this. I told you I'm a big Nancy Pelosi fan right now. And she doesn't believe Hillary Clinton should be pardoned. Now, she doesn't believe she should be pardoned because there's nothing to pardon her for. Okay, great. I don't believe she should be pardoned either. No, I really don't. Time will tell. Let us go to Jerry, Passaic, New Jersey, the great WABC. Go.
Hello? Mark?
Hey, Jerry, is that you?
Yep.
Okay. Hey, can you lower your radio, please?
Yeah, okay. Let me lower it.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. There we go.
Yes. All right, Jerry. Go right ahead, please.
You know, if he has to pick people, I have about at least 3 suggestions, which would be Congressman Garrett, who was defeated by a slime ball out here. Also, Congressman Camp of Kansas, and also the former governor and Senator George Allen of Virginia.
These are excellent ideas.
And can I add a couple more?
I don't know. Well, let me just say this. I think George Allen, as an example, would be a great Secretary of Interior. I really do. I think Camp would be a great Secretary of Agriculture. And Garrett would be great really anywhere in the federal government. He really would. But, a lot of these guys don't have the clout as the current rats in Congress do. He's talked to Nikki Haley. What the hell do you want to do with Nikki Haley? I'm serious. What? What are you going to do with Nikki Haley? Oh, there's Romney. Oh, that's a good one. Romney. Oh, Corker. That's even better. Yeah, we'll put Corker. And by the way, we'll put Trent Lott in charge of draining the swamp. Trent Lott has made his services available, of course. All the slime balls, all the backstabbers, all the frauds and the phonies. They better be very mindful of this, or they will sink this administration. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Well, my buddy Matt Drudge just informed me that Trump has offered retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn the job as National Security Advisor. I happen to think that's an excellent choice. I've met General Flynn a couple of times. This guy is solid as a rock. And let me tell you something else. He has guts. He came out early on, before there was Trump, before there was Republican primaries, before any of this. Forget about the politics. It was critical of what this administration has been doing with ISIS and so forth, and he would know, given the position he held. So, look, I may not agree with him on everything, so what? That is a good choice, if in fact that holds up. So if Trump has offered retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn the job as National Security Advisor, good move, in my humble opinion. Now, let's not blow it with stupid picks at State and Defense. Just my humble opinion. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Democrats are very worried. They're worried about the next election cycle in the Senate. They're already looking ahead. And they thought to themselves, you know what? What better way to hold our seats than to make Chuck Schumer the leader of the Democrat Party in the Senate. I agree with them. I agree with them. Chuck will be just great. Just what the doctor ordered for the Republicans. For the Republicans. The sprawling, this is Politico, which is a Democrat and Republican establishment operation. The sprawling 10-person Democratic leadership team that Chuck Schumer assembled on Wednesday will allow him to hear from everyone from Bernie Sanders to Joe Manchin. And Democrats are going to need all the wisdom they can summon from all quarters of the party to survive what's coming in 2018. Still nursing their wounds after last week's thrashing, Democrats already are grappling with how to defend 10 senators up for re-election in 2018 in states that Donald Trump carried, and some resoundingly. Republicans are targeting a quintet of senators from conservative states where Trump walloped Hillary Clinton: Montana, Missouri, Indiana, North Dakota, and West Virginia. The GOP could amass a filibuster-proof majority by running the table in those states and other battlegrounds. Yeah, but as long as McConnell is the general in this, then it won't matter. McConnell has got to go. And I will continue to make this a focus of mine, as we did with what's his name? John Boehner in the House. The problem with McConnell is he's George Pickett, although he's not even that, quite frankly. People agree with us, but didn't believe in us, said Brian Schatz of Hawaii, a liberal member of the caucus. Geez, I didn't even know he was a senator. A guy named Brian Schatz is the senator from Hawaii? Wow. The left-right spectrum has been scrambled, and so it's no doubt we have a daunting map. But I think the way to run in this new environment is with authenticity, with passion, with connectivity. Another idiot. The foreboding map, coupled with competing political imperatives for different vulnerable members. Is party leaders looking to drive wedges between Trump and Republican leaders in the early going. But ultimately, if Democrats hope to avoid ceding even more power to Republicans in 2 years, they'll have to seize back the issues, the voters, that Trump snatched away. Well, they're going to have to do more than that. I want you to look at these Senate races. I want to repeat this. Forget about the liberal media and their spin, and forget about the Trump surrogates and their spin. I'm talking to all of you. Marco Rubio won Florida with 200,000 more votes than Trump. Burr won North Carolina for the Senate, Richard Burr, with tens of thousands of more votes than Trump. I'm not doing this to attack Trump. I'm doing this to explain something. Ron Johnson, who was written off as dead by Mitch McConnell and so forth, won Wisconsin by more votes than Trump. Pat Toomey, written off as dead and fairly conservative, won Pennsylvania with more votes than Trump, and so forth. So what I'm saying, and actually Kelly Ayotte, who lost her race, as did Trump lose New Hampshire, had more votes, I believe, than Trump. Now, what does this mean? Well, it means something very important. Every one of those senators ran as unabashed conservatives. Every one of them. I'm going to let this race settle down a little bit, and then I'm going to tell you why I think what happened and why I think everybody is wrong. But we'll leave it right there for now. We'll leave it right there for now. I'll explain it in a little bit more detail when the exuberance has settled down a little bit. And by the way, I'm exuberant too. Hillary Clinton lost, and it looks like Donald Trump wants to do some really, really good things. That's good. Really good. But there was no populist nationalist uprising. This is the so-called analysis from people who are very superficial and are repeating arguments by somebody else. There was a conservative uprising. All right, I'll let you in on it. There was not only a conservative uprising in this election. There was a conservative uprising in 2010. in 2012, in 2014, in 2016. Michael Barone has a piece today that says there were a significant percentage of voters last week who were double negatives. They couldn't stand either one of the candidates. And yet that significant percentage of voters went to Trump because they had a worse view of Hillary. And I believe a lot of those were you, constitutional conservatives, who, like me, for the last several months said we have to stop Hillary. At least we have a shot with Trump. You and me, who heard what he said at Gettysburg and the promises he made, 80% of it, a solidly conservative agenda. We broke for Trump. More on that another day. We'll be right back.
The Mark Levin Show is tomorrow's morning show. You can reach Mark now at 877-381-3811.
I want to encourage my Democrat friends to rally around Keith Ellison, and to join me in this effort. I think he's the perfect leader of the Democrat Party in times like this, where the Democrats have a boatload of senators up and the House in 2 years and so forth. We have pretenders. They pretend to be moderates. The media will continue to call them moderates, who have gone along with Obama and the left from day one. Stabenow, Baldwin, Casey, Brown of Ohio, Nelson of Florida, all pretend moderates, radical leftists. And watch how they try and kind of mess around with their record a little bit before the election. But we'll be here to keep an eye on them. I'm not going away. I'm not going to the meatball factory. No, we'll keep an eye on them. The whole world watched the outcome of the presidential election because the office is the most powerful in the world. But the powers of the presidency, you know, they're limited. They're supposed to be restrained by the Constitution. Recently, sadly, the restraints were breached. Endless executive orders, executive agencies, usurping of power from the other two branches. The only hope in restoring the proper role of the presidency is for the people to demand it, and that starts with knowing what the Constitution says. So here's what we want to do with you. Go to levinforhillsdale.com, Levin for Hillsdale.com, and register for a timely free online course brought back for a limited time by Hillsdale College, the Presidency and the Constitution. Every citizen needs to take it. Now, you'll learn in 10 short lessons the original purpose of the executive branch and how the Constitution limits its power. You see, the Founding Fathers gave the real power to we the people, but if Americans don't know what the Constitution says, how will they hold the president accountable? Let's show everybody we do. Register now at levinforhillsdale.com. That's levinforhillsdale.com, Levin for Hillsdale.com. Now, you know, Larry Arnn, Dr. Larry Arnn, the president of Hillsdale College, has been a friend of mine for 25 years or more. He's an expert on the Declaration. He's an expert on Churchill. And I was asked last week who I would recommend as Secretary of Education. And I said Dr. Larry Arnn. And I hope they do it. Can you imagine a better Secretary of Education? On the one hand, trying to abolish it, and then on the other hand, at least while it's in existence, advancing the principles of the Constitution and the Declaration. Now, you can't abolish the Department of Education if Congress won't go along. And I'm going to tell you that's what happened with Reagan. He sought to abolish the Department of Education, and the Republican Senate, which came in on his coattails on his massive landslide victory, massive, opposed him. They opposed him. Now, when I read this to you about Hillsdale College, one of the things they point out here is that we need to know about the power of the executive, the original purpose of the executive. So I want to touch on this ever so briefly. Ever hear of a philosopher, a Swiss/French philosopher, Rousseau? Well, of course, the French have heard of him. Many of the leaders of the French Revolution used Rousseau's writings to advance their anarchy. And you had 10 years of revolution, and what you really had was 10 years of bloodletting. A guillotine that was endlessly active. Now, without getting into the whole, scholarship of Rousseau, Rousseau was a very dark man mentally. He had a breakdown at one point. He thought that the system was very unfair. Maybe it was. And he ran around, in essence, creating his own system. He wrote a number of essays. He would call them discourses. Discourses on the social compact, discourses on inequality, and so forth and so on. And he wrote about the executive, what the executive should be. And to really give this, a short comment, which doesn't do it justice, but there you go. He said the executive really shouldn't be political. It should be administrative, ministerial. The sovereign is represented by the legislature. Remember his experience in France, and they overthrew the monarchy and so forth. And he said that the sovereign, the legislature, should be acting for the general will of the people. Now, how it intuits the general will in every instance beats me. Does our Congress intuit the general will of the people? Jefferson would talk about tyranny. He said you could have tyranny of a monarch and tyranny of a legislature. But in any event, focusing on the executive, he viewed the executive as nothing more than an administrative body, but on the other hand, an incredibly powerful administrative body because it had all the responsibility for enforcing. He wouldn't call it the law, but he would call it the general will. Now that, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is a prescription for tyranny. And that's why it's important to understand our Constitution. That's why it's important to understand the progressive movement. That's why it's important to understand when our so-called executives, our presidents, step outside the constitutional order and limits and do what they do. Because for the founders of this country and the framers of the Constitution and the ratifiers and the state conventions of the Constitution, the great fear that they had more than any other was an all-too-powerful central government, meaning an all-too-powerful iron-fisted government, whatever its form, but in particular, they had just fought a revolution against a monarch. In particular, in the presidency, which is exactly why they created three branches, co-equal, gave them specific powers, gave the House the power, the People's House, the power to impeach, and the Senate, which was to represent the state legislatures, the power to remove. Which is also why we have an electoral college, because they didn't want a direct election of a president because they knew the possibility of a dictatorship, of a mobocracy, getting behind an individual, winning the popular vote, the nation being factionalized and balkanized. So they set up, for money reasons, but this one as well, as a primary reason, the Electoral College. The left attacks the Electoral College. They want to destroy it. The left empowers a president as long as they control it. If they don't control it, then they want to empower a bureaucracy in the courts. The left does everything to undermine our constitutional system. The left does everything to undermine our natural rights, as expressed in the Declaration of Independence. And instead, the left embraces not exactly, but exactly enough Rousseau. And I might add, Hegel. No, not Chuck Hagel, Hegel. And, yes, even Marx, even though they cringe when you say it. Essentially, what they claim to be pushing is populism, but they're pushing populism for the purpose of instituting autocracy. Is this making sense, Mr. Producer? For the sense of instituting autocracy. Now, there are philosophy professors all over the country who are tenured. It takes them about 6 weeks to teach you what I've just explained to you in, 5 minutes? But that's what we see going on. And the reason why the left cannot accept defeat and will not accept defeat is because the left doesn't really care about elections or the Electoral College or the Constitution or separation of powers. The left is trying to redesign our society, and anything that gets in the way of that, the Constitution itself, the popular vote, the Electoral College vote, whatever it is, has to be steamrollered in order to create the more perfect society, this utopian that I write about in Ameritopia. The Constitution is the enemy. It divides power. It leaves plenary power with the states. You can't have that. In fact, if they had their way, and there was a piece by some professor, I believe, the other day, they'd abolish the states. The states are so, anarchical. An accident of history. Now, Rousseau, like Woodrow Wilson, more than, some time later, like Woodrow Wilson in the early 1900s, Rousseau spoke of society, as Wilson would later, as all progressives do, as living and breathing objects. This is why they talk about a living and breathing constitution. You cannot have all these restraints on the central government. You cannot have all these sub-governments. You cannot have all these branches of government fighting with one another. You got to view them as different organs of a living and breathing entity. And so Rousseau argues you got to look at society and government as an individual person. In the individual person, you can't have the liver fighting with the heart and the heart fighting with the kidneys and the kidneys fighting with the pancreas and all these other things. It's got to be a harmonized body, a harmonized body. So the body politic, if you will, is really to be viewed as the individual body. And so if you have these various entities fighting against each other, well, you can't have a happy, healthy society. This is their argument. And thus all these barriers that have been placed in front of a centralized and consolidated government need to be broken. They need to be overcome. That's a good chunk of Rousseau. It's a good chunk of Hegel. I'll get into him another day, perhaps. Marx goes much further. You have to absolutely destroy everything that came before. You must destroy it. Because it's based on a history of bad things. And all history, he says, has to be judged as in material terms. Whether it's a monarchy, whether it's feudalism, whatever it is. And in order to have this great just society and egalitarianism, where everybody's equal, where everybody's part of this body, this communal, you must destroy everything that's been. Again, I'll get into this more another day. But that's why you see in these hardcore communist regimes. In Cambodia, they wiped out 25% of the people. In Mao, they wiped out 60 million people. In Lenin and Stalin's Russia, the Soviet Union, they wiped out 40, 50 million people. Whatever the number is, it's horrendous. It's unimaginable. Because you cannot have the perfect society with all these imperfect people. And so you eliminate them for the greater good. Anyway, enough of that. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Okay, I found the piece I was looking for. Washington Compost. Some guy, Lawrence R. Samuel. States are a relic of the past. It's time to get rid of them. We're going to get into this in the next hour. Just get rid of them. We're busy here. You know, we got to set up some kind of authoritarian government. We can't have the states in the way, which is why I continue, and I will continue to push for a convention of states. While they try to abolish states and the Electoral College, the way they destroyed the United States Senate, we have got to push back. I don't care what the phony pseudo-conservatives have to say, or anybody else. This is it. Recent fund manager believes that every investor should have a formal allocation of physical gold to enhance the liquidity of their portfolio. I have physical gold. That's what central banks understand, which is why they all own gold. In times of political and economic uncertainty, shouldn't you own the safe haven asset chosen by fund managers and central banks? And as I say, I own gold. I also own silver, but I prefer gold. And I prefer gold coins. You can buy gold coins, you can buy gold bars, but at least coins, they're in weights that I can hold. If I ever need to spend them, I hope I don't, I can. Now's the time to learn the benefits of owning gold. The only gold company I trust is Goldline. Call Goldline to get their free information. Learn how easy it is to add physical gold to your portfolio or IRA. Here's the number. 877-365-COIN. And Goldline lets you buy with confidence with its price protection programs on qualifying purchases. 877-365-COIN. And Goldline has been helping people buy gold for more than 55 years. They have a 5-star Trustpilot rating and thousands of verified clients. Now, make sure you read Goldline's important risk information to see if buying gold is right for you. Give them a call. Check it out. 877-365-COIN. 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 You know, you want to check out any investment, whether it's gold, real estate, bonds, stock, gems, whatever the investment is, you want to check it out. It's just like checking out a business advisor or a financial advisor. You want to check them out too. Make sure you're not getting ripped off. You just got to do that sort of thing. All right, we're going to get to this abolish the states thing, but that's what they really want to do, and they're doing it basically without formally abolishing. They just do it through the back door because the feds control almost everything now. All right, let's take a couple calls here. Let us go to Caleb, Abilene, Kansas, the great KNSS. Go. Hello, Caleb, are you with us? Caleb just fell off his chair. Daryl, San Bernardino, California, Sirius Satellite. How are you?
Great, Mark. Thank you so much for taking my call. You're awesome. You're right on the hill. I wish everybody would have to listen to you and go to Hillsdale, learn about our Constitution. I really feel our country is under attack.
Well, I feel it is, too, and we're getting chewed up from within, aren't we?
Yes, we definitely are. We need to protect our Constitution. We need to put well-distinguished and
let me ask you this. I said last week, when asked, I thought Dr. Larry Arnn would be an unbelievable Secretary of Education. Now, obviously, he is the president of Hillsdale College. What do you think?
I think that's awesome. And General Flynn, I think that's an awesome. I think he needs to bring in more military, retired or active military personnel.
All right, but I was talking about education. All right, thank you for your call, sir. I truly believe that Arn would be an outstanding Secretary of Education. Just unbelievable. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Washington Compost. Somebody by the name of Lawrence Samuel. He's a Miami-based author whose books include The American Dream, A Cultural History, and The American Middle Class, A Cultural History. At least he doesn't have, one book, killing this and killing that. Yeah, no offense, but good Lord. So he goes as follows. States are a relic of the past. It's time to get rid of them. When Donald Trump resignedly won the Electoral College, the state-based point system we've used in presidential elections for more than 2 centuries, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. In other words, more Americans wanted Clinton to win. Reason enough to revisit the wisdom of using the Electoral College to determine elections. But a larger, more important argument is often overlooked in this ongoing debate. The United States of America. We use the phrase all the time, but rarely think of what the words actually mean. In 1776, when this country officially became the United States of America, the word signified a bold idea. Geographic neighbors had formed alliances previously in history to form nations, of course, but these United States shared a vision and philosophy that was literally revolutionary. The coming together of 13 disparate colonies was itself a historic achievement. Never before, perhaps, had a collection of diverse, often contrarian regions merged to create a country whose leaders so vigorously rejected the political and religious doctrines of the times. We tend to forget how difficult a process the uniting of the original states was, as the cultural boundaries of the 13 regions persisted after the Founding Fathers joined forces to form a federated republic. But times have changed, and we need to rethink the notion of the United States of America. I'm telling you, you think I'm overstating the case when these people truly want to destroy our heritage? I am not. And this is exactly what they're doing, by the way. He says, our states are no longer culturally diverse regions with their own respective identities. Rather, they are artificially constructed geographic entities that certainly would not be formed today. What does that mean? They certainly would not be formed today? But they are formed today. Borderlines between states are especially nonsensical, he says. Pensacola, Florida is more like Mobile, Alabama than Miami. Upstate New Yorkers are less than happy about being in the same tax pool as Manhattanites. So what? Everybody can't be the same. We have cities, we have suburbs, we have rural areas within the states. In fact, despite all the attention to divisions within the country based on geography or race, gender, class, or any other demographic measure for that matter, Americans share a remarkably similar way of thinking and acting. The so-called red versus blue state divide is a crude, media-driven concept that looks great on maps, but has little basis in reality. Regional differences have drastically dissipated over the course of the past 240 years, turning the once radical proposition of the United States into an anachronism that now has little or no real value. More than anything, he says, it was the barrage of mass media and mass marketing through the 20th century that crushed regionality in this country, much of the world, flattening out attitudinal behavioral dissimilarities. Suburbanization, as well as the kudzu-like spread of strip malls, chain stores, and franchises, transformed much of the country's physical landscape to something that makes it difficult to know where one is. Geez, what an idiot. But I'm not done. The automobile and jet allowed us to conquer space, and the internet has virtually obliterated the lines of, okay, this guy's going on, like he's some kind of genius theoretician. Why is it important to have separate states, folks? So we don't have an all-powerful centralized federal government, correct? Now, what are the great benefits? What have come forth as a result of the great benefits here as a result of having all these states? I'll tell you what. Harmony. Even though that seems kind of strange when you're talking about disparate states, right? But as I wrote in Liberty and Tyranny, when you have different states, you have people with different backgrounds, people with different belief systems. Some people believe in capital punishment, some don't. Some people are perfectly happy with massive taxes that redistribute wealth, some are not. You have what's called mobility. That's why you see population shifts in a country. Movements to different parts of the country over different periods of time. You've seen great growth in the South. You've seen great growth in states like Florida. You've seen great growth in states like Texas. You see people leaving the Northeast. Young people decide where they're going to live based on a number of factors, cultural factors and so forth. You have states like Colorado that have very loose marijuana laws, and other states like Mississippi that don't. You have people of one faith that may tend to collect in one state or one region as opposed to another. The point is this. We are Americans, but we have diverse backgrounds and diverse heritages. And so the genius of the United States of America, as opposed to the central government of America, at least in the past, has been that people with differing backgrounds and differing attitudes can live in harmony. Because the people of California cannot force their will on the people of Utah. And the people of Utah cannot force their will on the people of New York. And the people of New York cannot force their will on the people of North Dakota, and so forth and so on. However, that crucial principle is being destroyed by federal law, by federal regulation, and by federal courts. It's being destroyed when you have the centralization of government and government's demand on uniformity. One size fits all. Obamacare as a perfect example. So, abolishing the states, in many respects, that's already underway. There's something wrong when the Environmental Protection Agency is stronger than every state in the country. Isn't it? There's something wrong when a Supreme Court, a federal Supreme Court, can reach into the decision-making of the people of every state and mandate that in every quarter of the country, people of the same sex can marry each other. Based on what? Where did that authority come from? Nowhere. And so this has been going on for 100 years. 100 years. The war on state authority. The war on the 10th Amendment. And yet the states, together, have more power than the federal government under Article 5 of the Constitution. When a fool like this talks about, let's get rid of the states are being gotten rid of. And that's why it's important that they start to fight back. No, not through secession or nullification, but through a convention of states. This guy understands. If you get rid of the states, then you can't have a convention of states. And in many ways, they're getting rid of the states without doing it formally. So the departments and agencies of the federal government are more powerful than the states. Do you think the framers would have believed in that? The Supreme Court can intervene in anything it wants to if it has 4 votes and then 5 majority votes in an opinion. 5 human beings can tell every state what to do, every state legislature, every state governor, thousands and thousands of school districts, because it can, because it's power that's been seized and has never been checked. And this will continue. This tyranny will continue. This war against our constitutional republic will continue. It knows no end. Just as people who have an insatiable appetite for power know no end. It's taken them a little longer to get to where they want to go because of all the barriers that are committed by our constitutional system, that have been created by our constitutional system, which one by one they're destroying. The states are a relic of the past. It's time to get rid of them. By Lawrence Samuel. What a fool. He doesn't even realize that he's preaching tyranny. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Let's slip in a call. Let's go to Wendy, Naples, Florida, the great WFSX. Go.
Hi there, Mark. Yes,
Hi.
Nice to hear you. I am listening here in the last year, I would say. I am just educating myself in the last 5 or 6 years. I'm in my 50s, but I was really not aware as I needed to be. So I'm very grateful for everything you contribute to that. I've read a few of your books, and I'm in process now of reading some more. And I just really appreciate it because I feel like right now I've been saying if we can just help the education system, that's one of the things that I feel would be so valuable. If we can get back to teaching the actual principles that are important, I believe that's where we can get a more educated society, and that's where I think we'll get stronger in the people understanding what it means to vote for these kinds of principles.
Well, you're very kind, and I'm glad you made these comments. I will tell you, I really had to dig down deeply. I'm working on a new book. I've been working on this new book for months. For months. I'm trying to come up with a very, very compelling approach. I can't even get into. I can't go any further. But I think you're going to love it, Wendy. And I want to thank you very, very much for your call. You take care of yourself. Now, by the way, folks. Thanksgiving next week. I will be off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I don't take a lot of time off. A day here and there, a day here and there. The time I take off mostly is around the Christmas holiday period, which I'll be doing this year. But I will also be off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now, I have a suggestion for you. You're either having Thanksgiving at your home or you're going to a relative or friend's home for Thanksgiving, and you're going to have a blast. I love Thanksgiving. I love it because I don't cook, and everybody else wants to cook. It's an amazing thing. It stuns me. But I do like to eat, and I will help clean up. I just am not into cooking. Well, during those hours when people are cooking, some of you may be watching football, and the little kids are running around. May I make a suggestion? Get a copy of Proverbs for Young People. Get a copy of Proverbs for Young People and bring it to Thanksgiving. You can get it on Amazon right now. You're going to love this book. Your kids are going to love this book. And I want to strongly suggest that you go to Amazon.com. And it's a book that's written by my father, illustrated by my father. And your kids are going to love it. And if you have really, really little kids, also get My Dog Spot. My Dog Spot was written and illustrated by my father and mother. They're really quite inexpensive for beautiful hardcover books. And when you have these kids' books, by the way, the pages are extra thick and shiny and everything else, so the production costs are rather substantial. But Amazon has them very, very deeply discounted. So I want to strongly encourage you, and I'll be doing this up to the Christmas period, but I think for Thanksgiving in particular, these are very wholesome books. They're fun. Your kids will not only be kept busy during Thanksgiving, they're going to have fun during Thanksgiving with these books. They're very enjoyable. Proverbs for Young People and My Dog Spot. Mr. Producer, why don't you go ahead and link them to Amazon up on my page there. Proverbs for Young People, if you have a child who's 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 years old, perfect. And it's illustrated by my father. And it's just a beautiful book. And the wisdom in these Proverbs, incredible. My Dog Spot, this book was actually first illustrated and put together over 60 years ago. But it was never published because my father left it in a box and just forgot about it and moved on. And so we decided to publish it, and it's absolutely spectacular book if you have really, really little ones. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. And Mr. Producer's son, Ethan, it's been his favorite book, My Dog Spot. So I would encourage you to take a look at that, too. We will link to both of them on marklevinshow.com and Mark Levin Show Twitter. Now, here's the other thing. They weren't ghostwritten. They weren't illustrated by somebody else. They weren't written, co-written, or anything of the kind. In the Levin family, we actually write our own books. And in my father's case, he actually illustrates his own books. So Proverbs for Young People, My Dog Spot, perfect Thanksgiving and holiday day gifts. You can get them at Amazon. If you act now, you can get them very quickly. Let us go to Samuel, Columbia, Missouri, the great KFRU. Go.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I called you a few months ago before the election, and I just wanted to thank you because you sent me a copy of Plunder and Deceive. It was such a wonderful book.
Thank you. Well, you're very, very kind. So you feel you got something out of it?
Yeah, I did, and I have this older guy. He's like a mentor to me. He's a Jewish guy from Switzerland, but he was not
Jewish
really
guy
a
from
conservative.
Switzerland. What are there, 7 of them there? But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, he wasn't really conservative, but he read that book and he told me that he thinks every college student should be required to read it.
You know, here's the thing, Samuel. During the breaks, I have our favorite cable channel on, if I'm not watching the Jewelry Channel. And, you know, I'm not attacking anybody. It is nonstop books on that channel. O'Reilly's got 14 books out there. Megyn Kelly's got a book out there. Another guy's got this book out there, that book, day in and day. It's the book channel. And I can't speak for Megyn Kelly, but most of these people don't write their own books. And it kind of creates static, and it kind of creates a cynicism on people. So those of us who do and put a lot of thought into them and write substantive books, substantial books, I feel we get drowned out from time to time. This book is very, very, very important, particularly for young people, Plunder and Deceit. It's written for you. It's written for them. So they're totally informed about what's going on. I want to thank you, Samuel. You be well and take care of yourself. We'll be right back.
The voice of sanity in an insane world. The Mark Levin Show. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
All right. Friends, I have an urgent appeal to every American over the age of 50 to act now. I'd like you to join AMAC today. Go to www.amac.us, click on the Join AMAC button. It's really that simple. Now, why should you join AMAC? First of all, they have outstanding discounts and benefits, and they truly are. It makes the AARP look like a joke. Well, they're a joke anyway, but you get the drift. But here's another thing. AMAC is patriotic. It's the kind of organization that stands for the kinds of things we believe in. Religious liberty, free speech, the Second Amendment, the Constitution. And it stands against those things, such as illegal immigration, radical Islamic terrorism, sanctuary cities, and so forth, that need to be opposed. So, we got the elitist machine out there. They say we're going to turn back your big government plans. That's what we're saying to them. So this is an organization that I hope you'll join and become a member of for two reasons. Number one, absolutely outstanding benefits and discounts for people 50 and older. And number two, they're in Washington fighting for our liberty. I suggest you consider joining them. Call 888-262-2006. 888-262-2006. One more, 888-262-2006. Now, if you're near your computer, you can join online. It's amac.us, amac.us. Well, we have my buddy Ben Shapiro with us. He's written an outstanding book, True Allegiance, and we'll link to that, Mr. Producer. But I have him here because there was a little run-in the other day, and this is going on our college campuses, to conservatives and, quite frankly, Jews who happen to support Israel, among others, Christians who support their faith as well. Ben Shapiro, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well. Tell us what happened.
Well, so it's been a really interesting week. I started at DePaul University. At DePaul University, I'd been banned there about 6 months ago because they said they couldn't handle the safety concerns of having me on their campus because students at other campuses had nearly rioted when I went to speak there. And so they announced that I would not be allowed to speak at DePaul. The Young America's Foundation said, we're going to bring him anyway. And then when the university found out about it, they said, if Shapiro sets foot on campus, then we will arrest him. That's kind of the short story. So they tried to bring me in as a speaker, and then they brought Christina Hoff Sommers, the anti-feminist, in as a speaker. They wanted to bring me in as just a guest. The administration wouldn't allow that. And then they tried to bring me in as one of Christina's team, and they wouldn't even allow that. So
now, hold on. Let me just get this straight. So the fact that people would potentially rise up or get violent against you means that you are banned from DePaul University.
That's right. And they would arrest me if I said, I explicitly asked the head of security there, if I take two more steps forward, like I went anyway, and I said, if I take two more steps forward right now, will you arrest me? If I attempt to go into that lecture hall, will you arrest me? And he said yes. And I believed him because he had 30 security guards standing behind him, 5 cops down the street, and the sheriff of Cook County inside the building waiting to take me off to jail. So it was an interesting experience.
I mean, that's quite totalitarian, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what I said to him was, you do live in a city that's had 4,000 shootings in it year to date, and you've got 30 security people, 5 cops, and a sheriff of Cook County here for a 5'9", 169 Orthodox Jew.
Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable what's happening to these colleges and universities. They're becoming like the point of the arrow for this totalitarian left. But what else happened to you?
Okay, so the next day, I go to University of Wisconsin at Madison, and they knew there were going to be protesters at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, apparently 2 Black Lives Matter groups and a white supremacist group, which has been about my year. And so the administration assigned 3 cops to deal with a crowd of 500 people and 3 protest groups. And then they told them that if the protesters got up and disrupted the event, and they had to arrest any of the protesters, and I called for them to arrest any of the protesters, they would shut down the entire event. So if the protesters made trouble, and then the cops had to remove just the protesters, and we all wanted to go on with the event, that would not happen. They would shut down the entire event and empty the
So the protesters would know exactly what to do then?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what they did. So the protesters were there, and they got up, and they started shouting and chanting shame and safety for some reason. And they were chanting at me for at least 10 minutes, every minute and a half. Then they got up and stood in front of the stage and tried to block the viewpoint between me and the audience. They forgot that there were a bunch of movable chalkboards behind them, and so I went over, grabbed a piece of chalk, and wrote in very large lettered morons, and put the chalkboard right above their heads. So that made for some fun visuals. And then they started screaming at the audience. This went on for 20, 25 minutes. Finally, they started filing out. but not before chanting F white supremacy and flipping off the crowd and flipping me off, which led me to lose my temper just a bit, and I flipped them the double bird as well. So it was an interesting night.
And of course, you have nothing to do with the white supremacy movement or anything of the sort. And
I'm the number one target. According to the Anti-Defamation League this year, I was the number one journalistic target of white supremacy on the internet this year.
So 2 attempts to speak at 2 universities, quashed. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, we figured out some end arounds, but yeah, I mean, at DePaul, we actually had me Skype into Christina Hoff Sommers, who's in the hall with all these kids. We had me Skype into her. She held up her iPad. I said, okay, everybody get up, walk out, and we all walked down to a theater about 3 blocks down and held the event anyway. And what was amazing about the DePaul thing, when they were trying to arrest me, is that there were no protesters. There were 0 protesters, like not one. There were 30 security people, no protesters, and I was too scary to let inside. At University of Wisconsin, we went ahead with the lecture afterward. I was really proud of the audience. The audience was, the folks who came to see. These are just people, and not only students, hardworking people from the community. One lady who worked at a soup kitchen got up and started shouting at these people. Listen, I was on my feet for 10 hours today, working with people of every race and creed and ethnicity, and helping them out. The least you can do is sit down and shut up and listen to the man speak. People were. It was a great contrast. I mean, they were shouting shame at me and at the audience, and the audience was shouting back at them, chanting decency and free speech matters. Which, if that doesn't say it all, I'm not sure what does.
And why are they opposed to you? Because of your faith? Because of your views? What is this all about?
So I'm not arrogant enough to think that a lot of these protesters even know who I am. I think that they know that somebody who's conservative is coming to campus. The fact that I speak out against Black Lives Matter is a big thing. The fact that I think that white supremacy, that white privilege, which is one of their favorite terms, is nonsense. They make a big deal out of that. But I think that mostly there are a few professors, and these professors say to the students that some crazy guy from the KKK is coming here, and you better go talk to him. So one guy at the beginning of the Wisconsin speech gets up and starts shouting at me about how I ought to be wearing a swastika, and I wear a yarmulke, right? I picked the yarmulke up off my head. I said, those aren't my folks. They don't like me very much. But yeah, they basically the professors tell them myths about who I am, and then they believe those myths, and they come and they think that it's incumbent on them to stop the Hitler KKK from speaking to their fellow students.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't see this getting any better, do you?
No, I don't. I think that, especially because the left feels emboldened by the Trump election to be as loud and as crazy as they want to be, and more importantly, the administrators are just humoring it. I mean, across the country, the administrators are declaring safe spaces. You've got professors canceling classes so kids can mourn. You've got professors who are giving people different grades on tests based on their level of emotionality with regard to the election. As long as you keep coddling these whiny crybaby snowflakes, they're going to continue to do this stuff because victimization in college world is power. And so they just get to declare themselves victims. Now that Trump is the president-elect, they're going to get to declare themselves victims for 4 long, interminable years, and the administrators will go right along with them, patting them on their little heads, up to the point where they reach the real world, can't get a job, and have to go live in Occupy tents.
But isn't it also the indoctrination by professors? The professors seem to get away with this stuff. They're tenured. They make a fortune. They have wonderful pension benefits and all the rest. Don't they instigate a lot of this? I'll give you an example. A niece of mine attends a school. I don't want to get her in trouble. On the East Coast, it's a public university. The day Trump gets elected, he puts out this outrageous email. We just elected a fascist, or this, that, and the other. I'm giving you the day off. Don't these professors incite this stuff too?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And the biggest problem there is that the only way to change the professoriate, there are only 2 ways to really do it. One is that donors, if you're listening right now, if you're a trustee, if you're a donor at one of these universities, withdraw your cash from any university that does this kind of stuff. Your cash speaks more than your phone calls to the university, more than public pressure. That's number one. But the bigger problem is that in order to become a professor at a major university, you have to be sponsored by another professor. It's sort of like the old Soviet judicial system. You actually have to be sponsored by a higher-up. So if you have a professor, a kind of person who writes these notes, and you want to write a dissertation with that professor, you're not going to be able to write a dissertation on why black communities need better policing. right? Instead, what you're going to get is you better not write that dissertation or you're not getting your PhD. So it's this self-perpetuating cycle, and this is how it's lasted for generations. They're appointing their successors. That means the only way to break that cycle is either to break the monetary sponsorship or to set up competing schools, the places like Hillsdale College, or to actually just fib, right? To just write what they want you to write, get where you want to go, and then look at this. I'm a conservative. And
this is a very, very important point, and I write about it in Plunder and Deceit, too. The ancestral nature of this. You're right. The faculty picks the faculty. And the faculty picks the faculty, one generation of faculty to the next. And they tend to focus on the same 20 to 30 universities. And right. This is their system, and then they're tenured, and you're right. There's this sort of power faculty that just keeps promoting one after another.
That's exactly right, and that's why you have that's exactly why, for example, you haven't seen this sort of infiltrate the maths and sciences the same way because people appoint their successors. But ever since the 60s, this has been a cycle that hasn't been broken, and the students right now who are protesting and shouting, those are going to be the ones teaching the classes in 5 to 10 years. I mean, when you major in gender and diversity studies, if you major in lesbian dance theory, that qualifies you for one job and one job only, teaching lesbian dance theory or gender and diversity studies. So the only reason these departments exist is to self-perpetuate and then to propagandize.
All right. Well, listen, you're a very brave young man to go into these institutions. Are you planning any in the future?
Oh, yeah. I'm like 10 minutes from now, I'm supposed to speak at University of Minnesota, so we'll see how that goes. And
Holy mackerel.
I got to swing along the East Coast in early December. So, yeah, we're going to be doing dozens of these across the country. Hey, it doesn't take a lot of bravery for me. I got security. It takes a lot of bravery for the students who have to stick around after I leave.
Well, give our friends at the University of Minnesota my best, will you?
Definitely will. Thanks, Mark.
And then duck. All right. Thank you, my friend. You take care. There he goes, Ben Shapiro. Good guy. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Levin TV tonight, the entire program is on George Soros. I found an old interview of George Soros, and I didn't remember many of the things about him that I saw. And so we play that, and I comment on it at great length, as well as what George Soros is doing today and what he's done to this country. So if you ever wanted to know about George Soros, not at a superficial level, but really know about George Soros, tonight is the night on Levin TV, our George Soros expose. Now, Casper. I can't believe it's fall. I love the fall. But the year's flying by. It's only going to get crazier and colder these next few days. As a matter of fact, where I live, it's supposed to get very, very cold Saturday and especially Sunday. So maybe I'll sleep on my Casper mattress and hibernate till spring. No, I don't think so. But I will sleep on my Casper mattress. It's the best mattress I've ever had. Casper's one perfect mattress that helps maintain the right body temperature so you don't get overheated or you don't get too cold. Its two high-tech foams provide all the comfort and support you need, guaranteeing you get the best night's sleep ever. In fact, Time magazine named it one of the best inventions of 2015. It ships for free in a box so small you won't believe it holds a mattress, and you won't when it shows up. In fact, you'll say, "What's that?" Well, that's your mattress. And you open the box. And you can try your Casper for 100 nights risk-free. Go ahead and get one. Take your current mattress, lean it against the wall, try the Casper. I'm telling you, you're going to keep the Casper. But if you don't, you can send it back absolutely free. But I think you're going to love it anyway, and you'll get a full refund. So try yours in your home for 100 nights with free shipping and free returns. Go to Casper.com. Use code MARK. Casper.com, code MARK. Get $50 towards the purchase of your mattress. That's Casper.com, code MARK for $50 towards the purchase of your mattress. Casper.com, terms and conditions apply. I'm telling you, it'll change your sleep. You will have nice, deep REM sleep with your Casper mattress, as do I. All right. Let us go, shall we? Jack, in New York, the great WABC. Go.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Yes.
I want to thank you for turning me into educated conservative from a Democrat know-nothing.
Thank you.
I just want to get that straight to my point, that I thought that the reason why the DNC, they want to hire the Keith Ellison for the...
It's Keith X.
After this elections, they're organizing themselves and to see like how they could widen their base. And after the big flow of immigrants from the Middle East countries, there's a huge Muslim population here. So they want to widen their base.
But still, it's not big enough right now to offset their traditional Democrat constituent groups. I think what's happening here, Jack, the Democrat Party has been captured by the radical left, and the radical left's not going to let it go. And they are in a bubble mindset. And so their view is we got to move further to the left. You know, we have to move further to the left and pretend that we're going to represent all these assembly line workers who work at the car manufacturers and all these coal miners and all that. We'll pretend we want to represent them. We got to get back to our propaganda and so forth and so on. But I think it's great. I support Keith X. I really do. I support Keith X to be DNC chairman. We hope to get him on the program. I want to show him how much I support him because I can't think, honestly, of a more preposterous appointment to head the Democrat National Committee. So let's get behind Keith X. All in favor, say aye. All right, the ayes have it. Thank you, Jack. Henry, Anchorage, Alaska, the great KBYR. Go.
How you doing, Mark? So great to see you staying critical during this time. Everyone else is shaking pom-poms, and it's so nice
I
to
know,
hear
it's
someone.
pathetic, isn't it? Well, what can I do?
Yeah, well, you're doing it. You got Christie out of there, I think. Anyway, you hit on a point earlier talking about Hegel and how people are sensitive when we call ourselves about being called Marxists. But it's a hard subject to tackle, quickly. But we really are so Marxist, through the Frankfurt Council. I don't know if you know much about the Frankfurt Council, where they essentially married, Marx. What didn't work with Marx, killing off your workforce, they were able to use the Freudian circle to just synthesize everybody, and that's just been the agenda. You got Goals 2000. We've adopted the Soviet system here, and we wonder why all these young people, my age and younger, vote far left. It's crazy.
By the way, Anchorage, Alaska. Now, do you live in Anchorage or 20, 30 miles outside? I'm just curious because I watch these shows on TV.
I'm about 20, 30 miles outside of it, away from the population.
So you're more of an independent type.
I like my freedom.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. Thanks for your call. I appreciate it. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, and emergency personnel. America, my beloved audience, please join the rest of us, patriots, on Levin TV in 2 minutes, and see you tomorrow on the radio. God bless you.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Looks like everybody's going to Trump Tower. Have you been invited to Trump Tower, Mr. Producer? I haven't been invited. Gee willikers. I am Mark Levin. Our number 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Even Mayor DeCamio's been to Trump Tower. I have never been to Trump Tower. My goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to apologize to you. Sincerely apologize to you. I've made a terrible mistake, and I'm a big enough man to tell you when I have. I want to endorse Nancy Pelosi for House Democratic leader. I want to endorse Nancy Pelosi. I want to say kudos to the Senate Democrats for elevating Chuck Schumer to their leader. And I'm having second thoughts about my attacks on Keith Ellison. Maybe he's perfectly qualified to lead the Democrat Party with his ties to the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE and Farrakhan at the Democrat National Committee. So I want to endorse all three of those people because I think they've done a hell of a job. They've done a hell of a job. I'm looking here at CNS News. Terry Jeffrey, Brent Bozell's wonderful outfit. Ranks of GOP state legislators at all-time high after winning 7 more seats. Then I look at the House of Representatives. It's been in the hands of the Republicans now for quite some time. After the Tea Party rose up and took it from the Democrats and Pelosi. The Senate. I mean, I think there were something like 23 Democrats up. They were supposed to sweep the Senate and take the majority, and they failed. And, of course, as we all know, they were supposed to win the presidency, and they didn't. So I want to give my strongest endorsement possible to Nancy Pelosi to head the Democrats in the House, to Keith Ellison. This is what America's looking for, ladies and gentlemen. A man with ties to Farrakhan, a man with ties to the Muslim Brotherhood, a man with ties to CARE, a radical leftist. This is exactly what America wants. So I want to endorse Keith Ellison for the DNC chair, Nancy Pelosi for the Democrat leadership, and I want to thank the Democrats in the Senate for elevating Chuck Schumer. Now, what do you think about that? And I think they should keep doing exactly what they're doing. I hear Bernie Sanders wants to run for president again in 4 years. I don't think we've ever had a president who is, 112 years old? You think he slobbers now. Wait until, 4 years from now. He spittle all, it'll be, whatever. Maybe Hillary Clinton will give it another run after her nervous breakdown. You never know. Maybe Elizabeth Warren. Complete fruitcake. Maybe she's the future of the country. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think I should have been so harsh on Nancy in all these years, and Schumer all these years, and Keith Ellison the last several days, exposing him for the radical goofball that he is. No, I want to endorse all of them for the positions they seek or have. Because I don't think if they reach into the farm team and elect some moderates to these positions, which I don't think they'll do, I think they'd be a lot tougher, don't you? So the more radical, the better. The more repulsive, the better. The more evil, the better. And I think we've got him right there, the Three Stooges. The Three Stooges. Schumer, Ellison, and Pelosi. Perfect for the future of the Democrat Party. Now, what's with this Obama? Traveling all over the world. Does he think he's the Messiah? He's a complete failure in domestic and foreign policy, a pathetic joke. He gets up there behind the microphone. He's got the world press there. Doesn't he realize people are laughing behind his back? And he's up there lecturing Trump, lecturing the world, lecturing this, lecturing that. Mr. Failure, Mr. Loser. But I have 57% popularity. So what? Who cares? Obama, in a news conference today, about the riots that are taking place in our country. I warned you about this guy, not only for years, but I've noticed, and as have you, his utter silence in the face of the anarchists and Marxists in the streets. And I'm going to tell you why, because he supports them. He probably says to the lovely Michelle, when they're planning their vacation, in Palm Springs, to fight the system, to fight the man, probably says to her, the good old days there, honey. When we could actively and openly socialize with our friends, Bernadine Dorn and Bill Ayers and Father Nutjob there in Chicago and Khalidi and all the rest of them. We could worship openly with our dear friend Jeremiah Wright. The good old days. Look, honey, look what's happening in Seattle. It's really great. Look what's happening in Portland. Look at all these kids rising up, breaking windows, attacking cops, cutting tires, burning stuff. The good old days. Cut 8, go.
So I would not advise people who feel strongly or are concerned about some of the issues that have been raised during the course of the campaign. I wouldn't advise them to be silent. What I would advise, what I advised before the election and what I will continue to advise after the election, is that elections matter, voting matters, organizing matters, being informed on the issues matter.
Wow, what a sage. What a sage. Notice he didn't say cut out the violence. Nothing of the sort. Because he believes in it. And I always knew he believed in it. His party believes in it. His party needs it. This is who they are. This is what they do. You don't see violence from Tea Party activists. You don't see violence from rank-and-file Republicans. See quite the opposite. I'm sure the media will seize on what Obama said, just the way they used to seize on what Trump said. Did Trump urge violence in the street? No. And we know that Hillary Clinton and her campaign had ties to these operatives, thanks to the Veritas Group. We're funding it. We know George Soros is into all this. Civil war, bloodshed, turmoil. He's utterly unaffected by it. So there's Obama in Germany. He's in Germany. Riots in the streets in the United States. His party, his supporters, his people. And there he is in Germany thinking it's pretty cool. I would not advise them to be silent. I would not advise them to be silent. Anyway, I wanted to remind you of him. Let's also hear this. Cut 6. Obama today in Berlin. Go.
Part of what's changed in politics is social media and how people
All right. Social media. Didn't you use social media to get elected? Wasn't that the genius of your campaign in 2008? Social media? Go ahead.
Part of what's changed in politics is social media and how people are receiving information. It's easier to make negative attacks and simplistic slogans than it is to communicate.
What is he doing? What does he do? He's like a homeless guy with an Air Force jet, with an entourage, with the presidency, just kind of roaming around the streets, in this case, roaming around the world, popping off, lecturing everybody, monotonous, boring, pathetic, embarrassing. Comments on social media, commenting on this, commenting on that. What the hell? This guy, he doesn't know a damn thing. He's learned nothing in 8 years in the presidency. He knew nothing before he came to the presidency. The American people rose up in 2010. They rose up in 2010 because of his Obamacare, and they haven't stopped rising up. 2010, 2012, 2014, 2016. Wait a minute. I want to apologize to you, ladies and gentlemen. We like Barack Obama, don't we? We do now, right? Oh, yes, we do. Since Barack Obama's been president, the Republicans hold more state legislatures and more governorships since Reconstruction. They've never held more since Reconstruction. They were supposed to get blown out in the Senate. But they weren't. They might even lose the House. But they didn't. They couldn't possibly win the presidency. But they did. So I want to thank Barack Obama. Keep your mouth running, pal. Keep going on and on about the great times and how things are so wonderful and all the rest of it. So I want to say this. Thank you, Barack Obama. Reiterate my support for Keith Ellison over there at the DNC. That'll get Middle America excited. The Muslim Brotherhood, CARE, Farrakhan. Nancy Pelosi, you've been great. The San Francisco treat, there she is. And of course, the snake, Chuck Schumer. Now, I must say, Mr. Producer sent me the emails, that unlike the very, very rude Eric Holder, who wouldn't take up my offer to debate me on the Electoral College. I mean, I know I'm not Bill Maher, but we could do that, you know. Chuck Schumer's office actually responded. The communications director said, we appreciate it, but we're busy. Who was the other one, Mr. Producer, that got back to us? Now, who was the other one? We had Schumer's office. Ellison's office got back to us. Thanked us, too. Well, we'll continue to invite Mr. Ellison on the program. I mean, after all, I just endorsed him to be chairman of the DNC, didn't I? And all you Democrats who are having second thoughts in the House for Pelosi, spread the word in your caucus among the left-wing kooks that I'm endorsing Nancy Pelosi. I'm sure it'll help. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I want to apologize to Keith Ellison again. It's Keith X, as I recall. Keith X. So I officially endorsed Keith X to be the head of the Democrat National Committee. Officially endorsed Nancy Pelosi, Nancy X, to be the head of the Democrats in the House. And we officially certify and sanctify Charles Chuck Schumer as the Democrat leader in the Senate. We're proud of all three. Keep it up, boys and girls. Just keep it up. More press conferences, more policies. Let the entire world know who you are. I think that would be very, very helpful. Now let me show you the difference between the Democrats in the Senate and the Republicans. First we have from the Huffington Compost, and they're very, very excited about Orrin Hatch. Is that 2 R's or 1 R? I don't remember. 2 R's. Orrin Hatch may want to run for the Senate again in Utah. We will fight him tooth and nail. He came on this program and lied repeatedly to get our endorsement. That will never happen again. He's on our radar to be defeated. The Huffington Compost. Key Republican puts dagger in push to end filibusters. Now, by the way, I don't favor ending a filibuster rule for everything. Just for key things. We can take our lesson from Harry Reid and the great Chuck Schumer. By Mark Wilson. By Michael McAuliffe. I wonder if he's related to the bagman under FBI investigation, the governor of Virginia, Terry. Republicans hankering to end the filibuster so they can enact President-elect Donald Trump's agenda without interference from Senate Democrats can pretty much forget it. To change the rules and end the minority party's right to blockade legislation. It's not blockade legislation, it's block legislation. He definitely has to be related to the idiot governor of Virginia. And Supreme Court nominees requires either agreement at the start of a new Congress, which Democrats would oppose, or a series of procedural votes. The latter, known as the nuclear option, could rewrite the rules with just 51 votes. Democrats did that for 2 years for presidential nominations below the level of Supreme Court to move some of Obama's many stalled nominees. This guy's not a hack. Now some Republicans, especially in the House, are pushing for Republicans in the upper chamber to nuke the rest of the filibuster, clearing the way for a Trump agenda. But with the GOP holding just a 52-seat majority next year, it would take only only 2 defections to end that threat. And some Senate Republicans already have expressed strong reservations. On Wednesday, Senator Orrin Hatch may have put a dagger in the scheme. Asked by the Huffington Compost about ending the filibuster, he was blunt. Are you kidding? I'm one of the biggest advocates for the filibuster. It's the only way to protect the minority. And we've been in the minority a lot more than we've been in the majority. It's just a great, great protection for the minority. Asked about reforming the minority party blockade, famous filibusterer Senator Rand Paul said, "We'll see." Now contrast this from the Washington Times. Headline, Democrats' new Senate leader, our man Chuck Schumer, open to filibustering Trump's Supreme Court picks. See the difference, ladies and gentlemen? Pusillanimous, impotent buffoons versus pusillanimous, imperial, pathetic Democrats. There you have it. They will do anything to advance their agenda and stop ours, and Orrin Hatch will do anything to advance their agenda and stop ours. We're going to have to address this, or this thing's going to be stillborn. I'll be right back.
If you turn off your radio and open the window, you can probably hear him straight from the studio. Call Mark Levin at 877-381-3811.
Looks like every rat fink in Congress wants to get into the Trump administration, doesn't it? Half the rat finks in talk radio want to get into the Trump administration, it looks like. Or at least a Mar-a-Lago or whatever. I don't want to get into anything. I love my independence. I love my independence. Doing exactly what I want to do, what I love to do. So all these rat finks lining up. Even old rat finks. So here is, by the way, Mr. Producer, send another email, if you would, to Keith Ellison's office and tell them I've now endorsed him to be chairman of the DNC. Will he come on now? Okay. I'm reaching across the aisle. A Jew to a Muslim. Yes. We'd love to have Keith X on the program. Keith X. We're not offended by that in the least. Call himself whatever he wants. Matter of fact, I think he should call himself Keith X. And I think he should invite Farrakhan in and Sharpton and the whole crowd. Bring everybody in. Have endless national press conferences about his support for the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE and his ties to Farrakhan and all. I think this is perfect. I think Schumer, the American people can't get enough of Schumer. The idiot Democrats, our friends in New York, the Democrats, keep electing him. Schumer comes off really, really well in the rest of the country. Doesn't come off as a shyster lawyer. No. Great statesman. Everybody loves Schumer with his cornrow and grease-backed hair. Little dabble, do you? Anyway, Washington Times. Senate Democrats' new leader claimed the right to filibuster Donald Trump's Supreme Court nominee. See, this is not normally done. But he knows they can do it because you have a sucker like Orrin Hatch on the other side. Oh, we're trying to protect the minority. You're not protecting anybody, you jerk. Not the majority, not the minority, not the American people, not the future of the country. You're not protecting anybody. Making clear Democrats won't give the president-elect much of a honeymoon on the most significant of his upcoming appointments. Senator Charles E. Schmucky Chucky Schumer, New York Democrat, said nominations to the High Court should get support from both parties, and said the filibuster, this guy's a clown, and said the filibuster is a way to enforce that on a president. He pointedly noted that when his party changed filibuster rules 3 years ago, they left intact the ability to filibuster at the Supreme Court level. See, they don't stop. But Orrin Hatch, what, are you kidding me? We're not suspend the filibuster rule. What, are you kidding me? You kidding me? We're protecting the minority. You kidding me? I'll underline that we did not change the rules for Supreme Court because we thought on something as important as this, there should be some degree of bipartisan agreement. No, you didn't. No, you didn't, Mr. Snake Oil Salesman. But what am I doing? What am I doing? I said we need to reach out and be polite to these guys as they destroy their own party. I'm sure Schumer comes off very, very well in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania, in Michigan. Oh, very, very well. Let's see. Democrats, though, set the precedent for partisan filibusters of federal judges under President George W. Bush. This is true. By blocking a series of his circuit court nominees. But that wasn't enough to move Orrin Hatch. No. Not enough at all. Let's see. You know, this guy, Rick Scott, the governor of Florida, I don't mean to offend. And I'm glad he's beaten the Democrats he runs against. I really am.